Good evening and welcome to CYC News for today, the 25th of January 2015 and the 17th of October 17:31 a.m. I'm Angie. In today's headlines, ISIL kills university professors in Mosul who oppose them. A Coptic family's property is seized at gunpoint in Assuit. 5 Christians killed and 300 priests assaulted in 2014 in New Delhi, India. El-Sisi says religious discourse should be purified to combat extremism. 45 churches and Christian homes are burned in Niger in anti-Charlie Hebdo protests. Convert Hegazy's lawyer says that Hegazy was transferred to different prisons to deny him the opportunity to challenge rulings against him. Christian clergyman executed by the Islamic State in Iraq. A second pastor detained in Sudan. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights in Iraq condemned the assassination of a number of professors from the University of Mosul because of their opposition to Daesh. Dr. Fadel Graoui, a commission member, said in a statement on Thursday that the assassination of a professor by Daesh gangs was a continuation of the murder and genocide suffered by the Iraqi people. He said that he believed these acts targeted the academic world, as Daesh discourse had been rejected in educational institutions across Iraq and the Arab world. Graoui called on the international community to condemn these crimes. He also called upon the Iraqi government and the House of Representatives to consider this crime as genocide against humanity and to compensate the families of the martyrs. A well-known family in the Assuit governorate seized the property of the Coptic Christian family of Solomon Aziz Solomon at gunpoint. They also fabricated a number of cases against him and his brother. The family of Ali Hussein, who seized the property, were supported by Abu Tig police station. Solomon and his family fled the governorate due to fear of oppression and the non-intervention of security forces to protect them. Solomon Aziz Solomon sent an urgent appeal to President Sisi to save his life and return his property. He added that the Attorney General of South Assuit issued decisions to deliver the land to him, but to no avail, and he's now living outside his village after many cases were fabricated against him by Abu Tig police station. Solomon told MCN the details of his case, which started on February 6, 2012, when the Hussein family seized his home at gunpoint. He told MCN that he filed a report on the incident and it was referred to the prosecution, then to the General Attorney of South Assuit, who issued a decision on the house to him and filed a misdemeanor against the Hussein family. Solomon said that after implementation, the Hussein family seized the house again at gunpoint. 5 Christians, including an 11-year-old child, were killed in India as a result of religious hatred against Christians in 2014. About 300 priests, pastors, and leaders of Christian communities were assaulted and beaten, FIDE's news agency reports. The agency reported that over 2,000 women and children have been victims of Hindu extremist groups. The Catholic Secular Forum reported that Chhattisgarh is the most dangerous Indian state for Christians. In India in 2014, there have been at least one incident a day where Christian people, places, or leaders have experienced violence. The states where violence is most widespread are Chhattisgarh, followed by Maharashtra, according to FIDES. 5 people were murdered, more than 1,600 women and 500 children were assaulted. The report cites Hindu extremist groups such as Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, RSS, among the causes and perpetrators of this violence. RSS is India's biggest NGO that promotes a nationalist Hindu ideology that supports the elimination of religious minorities from the country. The report also refers to the complicity of local authorities and said, the police often refuses to log incidents of anti-Christian violence as acts of violence, and the mass media also tend to turn a blind eye to the abuse. In some cases, incidents of persecution never come to light because victims are afraid of being killed and therefore do not report the violence. There are very few cases where the reason for the abuse is not religious hatred. Other reasons include mental illness, drunkenness, and robberies. Among the 5 Christians killed was Govind Kuram Koram, an 11-year-old boy who was kidnapped and left to die of hunger and misery because the boy's family had converted to Christianity. Protestant pastor Sanjivulu and others were stabbed after refusing to convert back to Hinduism. A couple that converted from Buddhism to Christianity in West Bengal were also killed in front of their 12-year-old daughter. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah Al-Sisi said on Thursday that religious discourse should be purified to combat extremism and that this was the role of Al-Azhar. In his speech delivered Thursday before the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, Al-Sisi stressed the necessity of developing the religious discourse to keep pace with the current century. El-Sisi added that all efforts should be united to combat terrorism, threatening all nations of the world. He stressed the necessity of intellectual and security cooperation and exchange of information. He also stressed the necessity of preventing terrorist organizations from spreading their extremist ideas. El-Sisi added that Egypt will complete establishment of its institutions and will utilize all abilities of the Egyptian economy and youth. He mentioned that the Egyptian people would not be impeded by the challenges and difficulties being faced in the current time, and that they're looking forward to a better future. Religious tensions escalated in Niger again this week, and militant protesters burnt at least 45 churches and Christian homes. According to recent reports, militants marked the houses of Christians in the capital, Niamey, to attack them. CBN News Network reported on Tuesday that Christians in Niger were afraid because groups of Muslim radicals are planning to destroy churches and Christian homes. Riots were fueled last Friday by Islamic anger against Charlie Hebdo, the French magazine which posted a cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad in solidarity with the victims of the terrorist attack on its headquarters in Paris. Niger's President Mahmoudou Issoufou announced earlier this week that 5 people were killed in protests in Niamey last Saturday, and 5 others were killed in protests in the town of Zinder on Friday. All the victims were killed in attacks on churches that were set fire to. The Catholic News Service also reported that about 285 Christians in the capital, Niamey, fled to a military camp to take refuge from violence because of extremists. It explained that on January 16 and 18, Catholic parishes, houses belonging to churches, and Protestant churches were attacked in different parts of the country. The Sunday Mass in Niamey was cancelled in the wake of the attack on 6 parishes and the escape of about 285 Christians to a military camp. The government recorded on Monday, January 19, the burning of at least 45 churches and the killing of 10 people. Karam Gabriel, lawyer for Christian convert Mohammed Hegazy, said he went to Minya's prison on Tuesday to visit his client, but was told that his client was not in that prison. Speaking to MCN, Gabriel said the Minya prison management informed him that Hegazy was not detained in Minya's prison and that he was transferred to a prison in Cairo 2 days earlier. Gabriel pointed out that he could not find where Hegazy was being detained, but after searching, discovered that he was in Minya and then was transferred to a prison in Cairo. He considered this an attempt to deny his client the opportunity to appeal against the 1-year prison sentence against him. Gabriel explained that his client was sentenced to 1 year in prison on charges of publishing false news and photographing demonstrations by a ruling by the Minya Misdemeanor Court. The lawyer added that Hegazy would not be able to challenge the ruling unless he gives power of attorney to his lawyer. He pointed out that Hegazy has not given him power of attorney to appeal the verdict so far. Gabriel said he would submit a request to the Supreme State Security Prosecution for permission to visit Hegazy and another request to get a written power of attorney from his client to be able to appeal to the Court of Cassation against the ruling before the expiry of the appeals deadline. The Islamic State group executed a Christian clergyman named Morteza Abdelhad in the Iraqi city of Mosul. Local residents said Tuesday that the IS Sharia court sentenced Reverend Abdelhad, who was 44 years old, to death by firing squad. ISIL arrested Ablahad 6 months ago along with 2 other Christian clerics and demanded a ransom from a church in Mosul to release them, but due to bad internet service and communication, the ransom was not delivered on time. Sudanese authorities have detained a second pastor in South Sudan in 3 weeks, local Christians said. Reverend David Yeen Wright of the South Sudan Presbyterian Evangelical Church was reportedly arrested January 9 by Sudan's National Security and Intelligence Services. He was returning to his Khartoum home from a prayer meeting when he was arrested, according to a Tuesday report. The pastor had received a threatening phone call earlier that day, saying that his wife and year-old son would be arrested if he did not return home immediately, local Christians said. The report added that the pastor's wife said officials have not revealed the charges against her husband and told her he is still being interrogated. In December, a pastor visiting Khartoum from Juba, Reverend Yad Michael, was detained after Sunday worship at Khartoum Bahri Evangelical Church, NewsLife reported. Local Christians are saying he was still in custody as of January 20. And finally, Saudi Arabia's king, King Abdullah Abdulaziz Al Saud, has passed away at the age of 90 after suffering from a lung infection. And that's all for CYC News for today. Stay tuned for more Christian content on CYC. I'm Angie, and from the CYC studios in Sydney, Australia, good night and God bless.